Okay, good morning, guys. Matt here from Crossfit Kempton. Joining me is Sean from Crossfit Durabo and then Chanel
How's it, guys?
from Nutrifundi.
Hi.
We thought it's quite appropriate now during this lockdown. We currently in the middle of, well, not in the middle, we're in day 4 of a 21-day lockdown. This is a difficult time for a lot of people. We're out of our normal routine. We're out of our normal habits. So we thought, hopefully this will add some value to people with regards to training, with regards to nutrition, and potentially just some other general tips on how we can stay sane during this time, how we can stay fit, and how we can stay healthy. We're going to be touching on a few points, bringing you some segments, some videos to hopefully help with that, or help you guys with it during this time. Yeah.
Well, guys, we want to try and help you guys with regards to obviously staying as normal as possible, and the norm isn't normal right now. So we're all stuck at the house, and we want to try and stay in our routines. And we think it's very important to touch base with regards to staying in routine, so that when we go back to our normal everyday life, that transition doesn't feel like such a shock to the system. And we feel that it's very important to do that just to start getting ready or for when we go back to our normal life.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's very important to check that, or just to make sure where we are, like which normal are you in now? Are you still going to work and you're stressed out because you're a healthcare worker and you could potentially bring the virus back to your family? Or are you working from, which is obviously also not normal? Or are you not able to work at all and you're stressed about money and all of those things? So I think it's important to take today to check where you are, make sure what your triggers are and where you are at in this whole situation.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, so I mean, if we can just kick off with a little bit of nutrition advice, I think, like for me particularly, if I like routine, so I like to, wake up at a certain time. I know this is when I'm going to have my meal. This is when I'm going to train. This is when I'm going to have my next meal. And this kind of messes things up a little bit because I'm not going out. I'm not going to the gym. I'm not driving to the shop or whatever it may be, no meetings. So what are some of the things we can do to try and stick to that as close as possible? Obviously not having normal workday hours or anything like that, but kind of stick to our routines as we need to.
I think very important is to not feel weird if you pack a lunchbox, even if you're in your own house. Pack your normal lunchbox, do your snack that you're going to have at 10, or that you should have had by now already, or maybe check what are you going to have for your pre-workout and your post-workout. And if I say pre-workout, I don't mean funny things that are going to spike your heart rate. I mean an apple or a banana, something that could help you to train in your optimum zone, optimum fat burning, all of that. And then also obviously for your recovery. It doesn't help we go out in a bang and we train hard for a week and we don't recover, and you're sore and you have an injury and you're sick. You can't go out to see a physio or a doctor. So I think it's really important to think like that. And then also a lot of us will be eating in front of the TVs. And I think a lot of us have been doing that even before this lockdown. But it's important to measure your food, weigh your food, check your portions, what you want to have, do it in the kitchen, go to the TV, and that's it. You're not going back to the kitchen. Once you're done, you're done. Yesterday, we had this discussion with Sean saying that it's maybe a good idea to think what you're going to have for dinner, but then make enough food, almost like meal prepping, but just in a smaller scale. Make enough food so that you can have it for the next day for lunch. Your partner, your wife, your whatever can also maybe have the same healthy food. So you cook once, but you actually get the benefit of it for like 4 times. Then also what I think, a lot of people at the moment, we are working from home and our houses are obviously smaller than the normal office space. And I would normally at the practice give people the advice to, when you go to the bathroom, go to the furthest one 4 flights of stairs up. Now we don't have that. So I would say eat away from your table, even if it's just in the living room. If you have to walk from your living room to your study 4 times before having your lunch, do that. Don't eat in front of your computer, in front of the table where you're working. And then another thing that I would say, we have time now, and we have all been using MyFitnessPal previously, but it's maybe a good idea to now really get into it. Put your labels on, put your food that you are using in your kitchen on this app.
We've got the time to do it now.
You've got the time. After this, you have your recipes on MyFitnessPal
100%.
already. You can just say, okay, I had 4 of this or whatever. So take the time to really make MyFitnessPal yours in this time. Is what I would say.
Yeah, just to touch base on what you just said there, I think it's a good time for us to set a good base level of getting back to basics, so that when we start, we've really got 21 days of these basics down to a T, so that it can not only, okay, we're trying to sort out or rectify what's going to go wrong. I think we should maybe look at it in the sense of, okay, cool, let's build a baseline to take forward after the 21 days.
Just like you said.
Definitely, and also with the... Excuse Matt. With the eating also, I think a lot of times with the eating before a run or before a CrossFit class or whatever type of exercise you do, as a dietitian, obviously I like to give my patients food. And a lot of times people say, no, I can't eat. It's going to upset my stomach, or I'm going to whatever. So I think maybe it's a good idea now, because there's no comps, there's no races, there's no nothing, to try these things. Try a banana before you do your online CrossFit class. Try maybe a rusk before you go and run in the garden or whatever. Do something now that you can't do when it's comp time and a race time, and try new things, because that's the number one thing dietitians always say. Don't try new things on race day. Now you can.
Yeah, I think as well. Obviously, let's say we've got our meals prepped for the day and all of that, and we've got everything planned out. I think one of the biggest things as well for a lot of people is we tend to eat when we're bored. So
yeah,
and it's so easy to be bored now in this time. So I think the key there is to just be disciplined firstly, and also to try and keep yourself busy. So we can have a routine with regards to when we train and when we eat our meals. But it's probably a good idea to also maybe potentially plan some activities for yourself. If you've got kids, plan activities with your kids. Wake up at a certain time. Just like you mentioned earlier, we don't want to go back after this 21 days now. Now all of a sudden we're used to waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning. We've got to go back to work waking up at 5. It's going to be a big shock to the system. So it probably is best to stick to routine in a sense of waking up at 6. Then we train. At 7:30, we eat our breakfast, shower, then we're going to do an hour of housework, then we're going to do 2 hours of work if you're able to work from home. Then we have our lunch, then we have family time, maybe a movie at night, to sort of plan your day out in that sense. Obviously just to prevent that sort of unconscious walking to the cupboard and the fridge and opening it up and just being bored out of your mind and just eating.
Definitely, and I had this discussion before lockdown with one of my friends when we were running, and I was saying, I really need to find something to do while I'm watching series, because that's when I want to eat. Okay? Yes. And I'm 30, and I actually had to go onto YouTube and had to teach myself how to knit, because if I'm not knitting, I'm eating. I think something like that. So find your trigger, find something that is that you're gonna eat. And then my friend actually said to me, it's a millennial thing, because you can't just do one thing. And I was like, what the hell, you're like 2 years younger than me, what is this? So I think it's important to find your trigger, because it's not the same for everyone. A lot of people will be eating during the night, for instance, or when they're stressed or when they're watching series. So find your trigger. This is now also a time to sort of get to know yourself, learn your things. So it's like driving on the highway and you see all these banners next to the road. Like hitting that with your car, yes, it's going to cause damage. But if that wasn't there, you would go down there and it would have been worse. So find your trigger. You're going to watch more series, but that's your trigger. So make sure that you're not eating while you're doing that. So start knitting.
That's cool. That's practical, yeah. I just want to ask, based on what you said previously, obviously at work, you always recommend to your patients to maybe go up 4 flights of stairs or 4 corridors down to the bathroom. Obviously, when it comes to our normal daily life, we've got the physical activity factor that we factor into the amount of calories we consume in a day. Would you recommend people to potentially consume less calories now because we're not going to be as active? We're not going to be walking from parking lots and all over? Or would you, on the other end of the scale, rather say, try and walk around your garden 10 times every 3 hours or something? What are some practical tips we could use with regards to that?
So I think really it's important for the patient or the person or the client to really look at him or herself and be honest, did you really walk that much when you were working? Or did you not listen to me or not do it? Because then sort of stick with what I was telling you that time, or what you have been doing in that time. So I think if you are maybe working in construction and now all of a sudden you're not on site anymore, definitely I would suggest to eat less. But I do think that there is like a bigger advantage to walking more than eating less. So I would rather suggest than saying to people to eat less, that every time you get an email, do 5 squats, or every time you're going to the bathroom, you have to lunge to the bathroom, or something like that, to like put it in the normal activity into your normal day, because we are sitting our muscles away. Good and bad. Like, I mean, not only CrossFit muscles and muscles that we trained for, but our normal muscles, we are sitting it away because we're not walking.
So moving on from
just a quick.
Okay.
Sorry, Matt. Just a quick one with Chanel. With regards to, say for instance, just to touch on the routine. So say for instance, the meals a day. At this time, a lot of people consume 4 to 5 meals a day, and then a little bit of snacks here and there. For the average, I'm talking average person that maybe trains 3 to 4 times a week, and their daily routine. What would your suggestion be for them? How many meals should they have with snacks?
Okay, cool. So I would definitely try and prioritize, or not prioritize, but to put my meals and my training sort of together. So in the morning, think, when am I going to train? What am I going to do? So if you are having, let's say you're going to train at 4 this afternoon, maybe only have a small snack like a fruit or a yogurt or both, before your training, maybe, instead of having it this morning as just a snack because you're snacking. So maybe have like the more carb rich types of snack before your training, so that we can put it together. But then I would definitely start with a breakfast, good breakfast. If you can, have a protein with it. Having your protein early in the morning is a good idea, like a boiled egg. I mean, that's something cheap. It's something we can keep in the house. It won't go off. That's a good idea. Then maybe have a snack 2 to 3 hours later. Anything there, like even high protein Future Life, a yogurt, the Dan Pro yogurts, an egg again if you didn't have one for breakfast, tuna. Yesterday, I don't know if you saw, I had my sardines on rice cakes, so that's a nice snack as well. And then for lunch, think of your plate model. So half of it must be vegetables, like all the colors of the rainbow, quarter of the plate a protein, and the other quarter must be some carbs. So that doesn't mean it has to be like a Sunday roast type of vibe. It can also be like a sandwich with like lots of like a cucumber, tomato, lettuce, whatever on the sandwich with some tuna that actually fits into that plate model. The same with, let's say you have 6 Provitas, tuna, and some cucumber. That's a nice lunch as well. Or like we said, we can have the previous night's leftovers for lunch if it's healthy. And then maybe have a small snack before you train. And then if you are only going to have your dinner later that night, I would say maybe have a protein shake as recovery after your training. If you are only training 2 or 3 times a week, and you know that maybe you're not training as hard now in this time, maybe your environment doesn't allow it, I would maybe cut the protein shake, because at the moment that would be extra calories and we aren't moving that much. So that's what I would say. And then maybe if you know you are prone to having a craving after your dinner, maybe try and get some yogurt as a nice alternative snack for after dinner, or even a fruit.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Cut it up in nice little squares. That's always nice, because a lot of times we eat because we are watching a movie or because we're bored or whatever.
100%.
Yeah.
I think, that was some really cool practical advice. If we can just touch on, we've spoken briefly about, training a couple of times a week and sort of sticking to the routine now from a training perspective. Just a couple of things we spoke about. Obviously, first thing being, if you know that you're going to get a little bit lazy throughout the day, it's probably best to set up your routine and structure of your day to train first thing. As you wake up, maybe something small to eat, and then go get your session in, versus waiting and making it easier as the day goes on to potentially put it off and say, I'll train tomorrow. Yeah. What are some other things that
just a quick one on that. I'm a person, not me. For an example, I'm a person that when I wake up, I don't want to train in the morning, and I'm pretty lazy, so I'm not going to. What would that come down to? What would that come down to? What would you say to me? Would it come down to just pure discipline, or it's just get up and go?
So it depends. I mean, obviously, I think it comes down to as well, depending on how much sleep you got. If you were up till 11 o'clock at night watching movies, you set your alarm for 7 o'clock and you don't sleep as much as you need to, you're going to wake up and you're going to feel groggy and you're not going to feel like it. So then it comes down to the discipline as well of making sure you're going to bed at an appropriate hour. And then obviously, you know, when we wake up, we don't want to roll out of bed and go straight, maybe except from Chanel, who's a runner. She puts her shoes on and probably leaves.
Look, yo, that's what I do.
Yeah. I like to wake up and have a cup of coffee.
Have a coffee.
My body wake up a little bit, and then get into it. So I mean, I think there might still be some people who aren't morning people at all, but then you need even more discipline to say, okay, well, I'm going to train at 10 o'clock, or if you have the time, or alternatively at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You just need that.
I think setting time. I think, like we said, setting time is very important with regards to your training.
Yeah.
It's very, I feel like with regards to now that you don't have a time obviously when the boxes open, we have time slots. I think it's very important if you're not going to do our virtual class workouts or whatever the case is, and you've got your own thing that you want to do, everyone's got their own thing. I think it's very important that you set a time. Say, right, I've got to do my session at 8 a.m. whatever the case is.
Have a meeting with yourself. It's
100%.
And also, like, obviously I'm not a coach or whatever, but I do think the accountability really comes in there. Like, even this morning, my dad stays 10 k's up the road from me, but he messaged me this morning. He said he was so nervous because he had to do his Zwift thing in the garage, and he said he was like really nervous for this workout, and he messaged me and he said, okay, so I did it. So I really think it's important to really try and, you know, be accountable. Make a group of 5 people that you normally train with or run with, and ask each other, did you do it? How did you feel? Did you die? I died, whatever. I think that's important.
That's important,
That's very important. Obviously, I mean, for the guys that don't know, we at CrossFit Kempton and CrossFit Durabo, if you look at our social media pages, we are running virtual classes. So you guys can inquire and find out about that as well if you guys would like to do that. But just like Chanel said as well, I think it's actually essential. Even if you have a group of friends or even one other person that's your accountability buddy.
Yeah.
More people's probably better, because if you're both feeling lazy, then it might be easier to convince each other.
I normally phone Matt. Me and Matt, that's my accountability partner. We generally do kind of the same sort of workout. And we can also
compare scores and that, and it's quite nice.
Yeah.
Not with each other, but you in your mind, you're remaining fairly competitive. Not that our focus is on competitiveness at the moment. It's just on training.
Our own physical push. Yeah.
But at least we...
But I mean, if it's your nature to have like a competitive vibe, use it now. Use it in this time. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of different challenges going on at the moment, and use it. Use your, you want to get your self-improvement there. You want to beat your friend. If that's your personality, do it. Use it to your advantage.
Yeah. Just to touch base quick. So we did a virtual class on Facebook where the people could see us coach or see us do the class, and they worked out with us, and they thought it was very cool in the sense that there was an actual live class running, and we did the Zoom class today where we could see the members, and a lot of feedback I got from the members. I don't know with regards to Kempton, I'm sure it's pretty similar. A lot of the members sent private messages back to me saying it was a lot better to train with people there that can see you, because I felt like I was motivated and I had to push like normal rather than just me starting a clock in my garage and doing the workout by myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think if you can, even like there's that app called House Party. If you do it by yourself, most of us have enough data, and that's, virtual call your buddy and do a workout with them. It is definitely more motivating than trying to do it by yourself. 100%. I think one last point, just so we don't make this too long, but one last point which you spoke about was our gyms are set up to train. So when we arrive, that's a training environment. That is
Yes.
most of us aren't used to training at home. So like we maybe trying to squeeze ourselves in between the cars or the couches so I mean, you touched on just creating an environment that almost we want to train. It's more inviting. Yeah. Well, I mean, what can we do to sort of...
So with regards to me, some of us have garages, some of us don't. We have lounges. Most of us have lounges. And I feel it's very important to set up and get yourself in the zone as if you were going into the gym. So a lot of the time when we go into the gym, we've already climbed in the car, we've driven to the gym, and everything's set up for us, and it's the environment to train. So there's no turning around and be like, oh, something's interesting that's on the TV, let's just carry on with that, rather than get your workout done. A tip from myself that I've given a lot of my personal training clients and some of the members, and hopefully you guys, in my garage, I move the cars out. I set up everything in a nice, spacious way, and it's very safe way, so I don't have the pickaxe hanging above my head while I'm doing burpees or push-ups. It's very spacious wise. So if you're in the lounge, move the couches, actually make a physical effort in moving things around, right? Find a playlist. To me, that's very important for a lot of people. The music is important. Find a playlist and get yourself started or in the zone. And I find it's very important for you to go into your training environment as if you were going into a gym and making that a priority. That is your workout section for the next 30 to 40 minutes. And there should be nothing around you to distract you from that workout, just to make sure that you don't get distracted.
Cool. And from a runner's perspective, Chanel, obviously we've seen some crazy things on Strava with your guys running up and down their gardens and that. But I mean, would you recommend rather substituting their runs for now and doing something else, or?
I think it depends on your environment. Like for myself, I stay in a complex. So for me, I can't go out and run. I just feel it's bad because the kids are indoors and then I go out and run. So I really think it depends on where you stay. Other people have long driveways, so they can do a quick 5K run in their own backyard. With all that being said, there was someone in France that did a marathon in like a 7-meter square. So it is possible. Mentally, I think it's very important, and you have to be focused. But I don't think it's essential. I don't think 3 weeks is going to be the end of the world. Honestly, I don't know what is going to happen with comrades. None of us know. And also all our qualifying races have been cancelled. So what I would suggest is if you can't run, deal with it and make a plan. Do some skipping. We all know skipping is good for runners. Do other forms of cardio. There's a lot of stuff that you can do that is cardio based. If you are one of the lucky ones and you have maybe an indoor cycling trainer or a treadmill, do that. But also remember that you are not training the way that you have been training. So check that you do not get injuries, because now you can't go out to a physio. It's not essential. So you, it is essential, but not for a running injury. So please make sure that you do not get injured in this time, because once we are going to be out of this lockdown, everyone is going to run like crazy. So I would say just train, make sure that you are fit, stick to it, sort of a half an hour a day. And when we get out of this, you're going to be fine.
So this would probably be more, I mean, I think we've said this before, but it's more like a maintenance phase. I don't think no one should really be focusing on seeing how strong and how fit we can get right now. I think it's about staying sane, or maintaining our fitness, maintaining healthy levels, and then also just maintaining body composition, not putting on too much body weight during a time where we're very inactive.
But also, I do think
you're not going to PL your back squat now.
No.
I mean,
but and if you are,
Sorry, and if you are going to try and PL your back squat in the garage, that's taking a charge, because you don't want to be going into the hospitals now for a dodgy knee and there's COVID-19 running.
No. So I think it's important to realize that now we are training to be healthy and not training because we want to be some other beast. I think that is the important thing to realize now. So I would say stick to what you know. And also, if it's possible and there is something that you know you really struggle with, and it is something that you can work on now, try and focus on that. Like, for instance, like I told you yesterday, I really battle with the skipping. That's something you can do, like sort of on your own little stoopy outside. Focus on the stuff that you battle with.
Matthew battles with his front rack. It's a perfect time to get his mobility in the front rack position sorted.
I'm trying. All right. Well, cool. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we went a little bit over time, but I think, yeah, some useful, valuable, practical tips in there. Like I said to everyone, we're going to be bringing out some of these videos every couple of days. Yeah, hopefully you guys find some value in it. And, you know, the goal for us is obviously just to share information. If we can help anyone, then, yeah, that's what we'd like to do. So, yeah, on social media, we're going to post this on CrossFit Kempton's page, Gritbox, CrossFit Durabo, and then NutriFundi. So just follow those pages, and then, yeah, we'll see you guys again in a couple of days. Thanks, guys.
Yes, guys.
Thanks.